perfect day for football was far from perfect for Oregon State. The Ducks turn up the heat in the second quarter of the 115th Civil War and blow out the Beavs. Now the Pac-12 title game and a date with the Bruins is on the horizon for the Ducks. Speaking of the Bruins, they now limp towards Autzen after getting dominated at the Coliseum. Can they pull off the seemingly impossible feat? In Tempe, the Devils and Bears, two teams playing for their coach's future, and it's Tedford who is now on more solid footing. In Salt Lake, the streak is dead as the Buffs upend the Utes for their first road win in 4 years. The Apple Cup was a record-setting day for Keith Price and the Dogs as Washington danced past the Cougs, and Luck and the Cardinals strengthened their BCS resume as Andrew Luck wrapped up his regular season career at Stanford in style. November is in the books, and it's time for Championship Saturday, and it's time for Inside the Pac.
Empty backfield on second down and goal from the 8. On the snap to throw. Thomas looks, goes toward the end zone. He's got him there, and he's got it. Darren gets it to DeAnthony. Thomas, touchdown.
Oregon simply too much for the Beavers in the 115th Civil War as the Ducks are now one win away from the Rose Bowl and the Beavers now focus on 2012. Hello and welcome to another edition of Inside the Pac. I am Tom Ward. He is Nick Krupke and he is former Oregon receiver Cristin McLemore. C-Mac, thanks for being here. You've played in some memorable Civil Wars, but this lacked a lot of the drama on Saturday that we've seen in the past because this was simply Oregon taking care of business.
Yes, well, as the uncivil war, as I like to call it, it was a great showing for the Ducks. Played great football. A little bit of the pizzazz seemed to be lost in it, but we're going to hopefully fire it up next week and get ready for that first Pac-12 championship.
While the Ducks squandered some offensive opportunities early in this game, the final analysis here, Oregon with 38 first downs to 15 for Oregon State, 670 total yards of offense. That's a big number, to 315 for Oregon State. And rushing yards, 365 rushing yards. Oregon State managed just 16 in a dominating effort on both sides of the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, it's tough. You can't win too many games with 16 yards rushing in the Pac-12. The Oregon offense was on fire. It was great to watch them. The defense, again, just showing out and doing a great job for us.
On the flip side, Nick, the Beavers turned out to be who we thought they were. They had problems running the ball all season long. They had 2 turnovers in the first quarter, something we've seen, and pretty much summed up the season.
Yeah, you just talked about a whole lot of crazy numbers. We got some more. 120 FBS schools, 31 turnovers, 116th in the country, 18 interceptions thrown. That's 119th in the country. Rushing, 116th, only 87 yards a game. It's 118th in the country. Take out that Sac State game. They're the worst rushing team in the country. And that was the big thing all year.
232 in that game.
That was the big thing all year were the games that they won. The 3 games that they actually did win, they got over 100 yards rushing, had a little bit more balance. Certainly, you got to find a running back somehow, and maybe Malcolm Agnew can somehow get healthy and stay healthy. And again, that offensive line certainly still a work in progress as well.
One season-long problem that we saw them sort of correct, at least in the first quarter, they held Oregon 0 for 3 on fourth down conversions in that first quarter. The defense was able to get off the field, but after that, it was pretty much downhill. Well, for the 4th straight season, a trip to the Rose Bowl was tied to the Civil War. A win for the Ducks would put them into that Pac-12 title game, with the winner of that earning that Rose Bowl berth. For OSU, it was all about bragging rights and finishing the season with a couple of wins. Senior day at Autzen for 14 Ducks, including David Paulson, Lavagier Tourné, Mark Asper, Josh Cadeau, DeWitt Stuckey, Eddie Pleasant, and Terrell Turner. Now, an ankle injury suffered in last week's win over Washington kept OSU's career receptions leader James Rogers out of his final game as a Beaver. A 4th straight win in the series, and the Ducks would host UCLA on Friday in the inaugural Pac-12 championship game. Sean Mannion playing in his first Civil War. Opening drive, intercepted by Michael Clay, 17th pick thrown by the freshman this season. That's the most in the country. Oregon takes over. LaMichael James, in what would be his final Civil War if he decided to turn pro, caps off the drive with a 1-yard touchdown, becoming Oregon's all-time leading scorer. It's 7-0 Ducks. Second quarter, the Beavers finally got something going. Mannion to Jovan Stevenson coming out of the backfield. Stevenson coming off that 3 TD performance versus Washington, breaks free on the 58-yard score. Beavers with just 3 first downs in the first half, but this tied it at 7. But Oregon goes right back on top. Darren Thomas to David Paulson, 16-yard touchdown. 14-7 Oregon, a career-high 8 receptions, 105 yards receiving for Paulson. Later, it's DT to DAT. DeAnthony Thomas's first Civil War touchdown, 8 yards, his 16th touchdown of the year, still leads all freshmen in the country. 21-7 Ducks on an 80-yard drive. Then just before the half, another quick score. Kenyon Barner working on Michael Doctor, 16 yards. Oregon up by 3 touchdowns at the half at 28-7. To the third, a big pass play to DeAnthony Thomas sets up this. Barner in from a yard out. Oregon with a 4-touchdown lead, as they were 4-touchdown favorites. And then a scary moment later in the quarter. LeMike with 142 yards on the day, but left the game after what looked like a hyperextended left elbow injury. He would walk off the field under his own power, but it looked similar to the injury he suffered on the right elbow against Cal. Certainly not as bad. Afterwards, he said he's fine, just stayed out for precautionary reasons. And then the fourth, DT spreads it around. This one to the true freshman, Colt Lyerla. He's been hampered by injury, but grabs this one, 39 yards, and his 4th score of the season, make it 42-7 Oregon. The Beavers, playing for pride, picked up a late score. Mannion, 19 yards to Kevin Cummings. That makes it a 28-point game. After Oregon turned it over in the kickoff, Mannion was crunched again. The 6th sack for the Duck D. He coughs it up as well. Oregon recovers, led to an Ayala Ford touchdown. But more from OSU. Mannion to freshman flanker Brandon Cook, starting in place of James Rogers. 23 yards makes the score more respectable, but Oregon rolls again. 8 out of the last 9 at Autzen versus OSU. Ducks now lead the all-time series now 59-46 with 10 ties. 49-21 the final. Ducks win the North Division and a 4th straight game in this series. A season-high 305 yards passing for Darren Thomas. DeAnthony Thomas caught 10 balls for 86 yards, ran for 71 more in his Civil War debut. He had 197 all-purpose yards.
Yeah, without James, the Duck defense was able to key in on Marcus Wheaton there. He had just 2 catches. Oregon State outgained on the ground 365-16. Mannion, his 11th straight 200-yard passing game, 3,328 on the year. Good for 3rd all-time behind Derek Anderson in 03 and 04. And Scott Crichton extended his single-season school record, forcing his 6th fumble.
Told the guys earlier this week that we want to win it for Eugene. It's more than just a regular game. It's a big game for me. It's a big game for the team. Ever since I got here, a lot of people have told me about this Civil War game, and it means a lot to the fans. So I'm happy that we came out and get the victory.
It's real big. You know, this is a significant win for the program and a significant game for the program also. So, you know, playing in this game, it's going to be another exciting one, and especially it being a home game.
Bragging rights for another year. Can go to Corvallis. Show my face, take my hat off, and be happy about it.
This is very disappointing. You know, I had thought we had improved enough to really compete in a ball game today, and so we're very disappointed with how that went.
It was a tough season, you know, from the jump, and I think every dude in there, you know, believed in each other, and we came out and we played as hard as we could.
Well, Cristin, we saw the Ducks offense sputter at times in the first quarter in this one, but when Darren Thomas is hitting his receiver, the offense can light it up, and when he's not, it gets a little ugly at times.
Yeah, it can be tough. You know, he still looks a little bit uncomfortable sometimes in the pocket, gets happy feet, as we like to say, but I think when he gets going and his receivers and his confidence level rises in his receivers, as we've seen throughout the season as it's progressed, we're going to go ahead and see a much better Darren Thomas.
Yeah, we see right there LT in the spot shadow, and he just overthrows him on a quick route there.
Yeah, you know, one of the things with that is that, again, that timing, that confidence in receivers. You got different guys moving around. You know, it's just getting those reps out there, and I think they'll get that ready for this Friday.
Yeah, that was on 4th down. This is 4th and 14. Going for LT again, and it's just way outside. I think it's the confidence in the receivers that you were talking about.
Yeah, you know, over the time, we don't have a Jeff Mail this year. That has certainly changed, but we have a lot of quality receivers out there. Obviously, Dat is a superstar in the making. Showed a great year this year. Looking forward to what those guys are going to do next year.
Yeah, and you see the catch by David Paulson to thread it through 3 defenders for Darren there. Paulson, I've been saying all year long, and a little bit last year, he's one of the more underutilized parts of this offense because they run the ball so much and they spread it around.
Certainly is. I mean, they have so many weapons, it's easy for him to get lost. One of the things that I see for him is just being comfortable. He catches everything that's around him. I haven't seen hands like that since Willie Tate.
Well, Oregon in the first quarter, 1 for 4 on 3rd down conversions, 0 for 3 on 4th down conversions. Darren, 5 of 11 in the quarter, but got better after that. Nick, meanwhile, a long season finally comes to an end for Oregon State. It began with that debacle against Sac State, and it kind of just got worse from there.
Yeah, you struggled to only get 3 wins on the year, and that's because you play a school record 10 true freshmen. At least one of the reasons you hope those guys, you kind of take your lumps this 1 year and you can move on, is you kind of get those guys experience, and the Beavers should get better, but the fact is eventually Oregon State's going to have to find a run game. 16 yards net rushing against the Ducks is 41. We're taking away on those 6 sacks. The Beavers thought they found their guy early in the year at the freshman Malcolm Agnew, but he never saw the field. Last 2 games, wasn't injured. He had constant hamstring issues this year, but he fell down the depth chart. Maybe his lack of run blocking didn't help him there. Another freshman, Teron Ward, didn't exactly have a big day, 31 yards rushing for himself. Maybe a look at the offensive line. You wanted sometimes this year, if all these guys were Pac-12 caliber players, Mannion seeing sacked 6 times. Most of those came on 3rd down of those sacks, and they had no option to run, really. Oregon knew it was coming. Oregon State just 15 first downs compared to Oregon's 38. Hopefully you can get Agnew healthy like next year. He can figure it out. Maybe look to get like a junior college transfer to come in, because I don't know what else you do. You don't really have a whole lot of guys that you're so used to seeing Oregon State with a monster tailback or fullback that can get things done. And again, all 3 games they won this year, they went for more than 100 yards rushing. You got to have that balance somewhere.
Right, and we saw it at times with Agnew. We saw it with Ward a little bit, but future stars all across the board on both sides of the ball for these guys. Obviously, Crichton and Wynn on the defensive ends on defense. And then you got Mannion, obviously. Brandon Cooks has shown he can make some plays. And then the sophomore, Kevin Cummings, in the Civil War looked really good. And so, for Beaver fans, I think there is some light at the end of the tunnel. But meanwhile, Oregon is up 1 spot to 8th in this week's AP Top 25. The rankings have almost become a moot point as it is now win and head to Pasadena. Still to come on ITP. Back to Autzen for more from the 115th Civil War as the Ducks now have to clear one final hurdle.
We lost last week, but that was last week. We knew coming back this week we had an Oregon State team. They always give us a tough game, and we knew we had to be on our toes for them.
Plus, the Apple Cup took center stage in Seattle, and it was the Huskies pricing the Cougs out of the neighborhood. And as always, lots more Beavers, Ducks, and the rest of the Pac-12 online all the time at our website, InsideThePac.com. We're back after this.